Share entire screen. I have shared my screen with you. If my screen is visible to everybody, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up in the chat box. Answer Avishka first. If my screen is visible to everybody, please go and give me a thumbs up in the chat box. Okay, great. So the last point, unit number 3. So we have completed our 2 units. Accordingly, I have given you the assignments, and hopefully, I guess most of the people have submitted the assignment. And if somebody is pending, please go and do that. It is for you, not for me. And all the assessment for the external term work and practical, I will be doing based on that only. Yeah. So everybody has to be very punctual. And if in case of any doubt, Kiddy, you can call me. You can ping me. I'll reply once I'll have time. Okay. So unit number 3, and the name of the unit is stresses slope deflection on the beams. This is the unit number 3rd. Actually, in the previous old pattern, it is bending stresses is a different unit. Slope and deflection is a slope and deflection of the beam is a different topic. They are different units actually. This is bending stresses is unit number 3 and slope and deflection is unit number 4. But in 2019 pattern, all the syllabus is changed, so 2 units are combined together. Okay. So what are the different points that we are going to cover in that? Let us have a look, and then we will go for the actual point-to-point study. Bending stresses on the beam. Bending stresses on the beam. So in that, we will be looking for the introduction and the application. Introduction to the bending stress on the beam with its application. Then second is theory. Uh, Hello. In case of, am I audible now? Am I audible now? Just give me
Yes,
a thumbs
sir.
up. Okay, okay. 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 So nobody will ask you to prove this flexural formula, but when there is external examination, external examiner will definitely ask you what is flexural formula and what are the different unit of the term utilized in that, and explain M, explain I, explain sigma, explain Y, explain E, and explain R. My screen is visible to everybody now. So the derivation, as far as strength of material point of view, the derivation will nobody will ask you in the examination, but this formula is very important for us. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover the formula, its term, and when the derivation is required. Actually, derivation is not required for us, but I'll conduct the derivation as and when required. Okay. But the terms involved in the flexural formula, that is very important. We must know what are the different terms, what are their units, and how they get arranged and rearranged with one another in order to solve the problem based on the bending stresses. Then next is the movement of inertia of the common cross section. So some common cross section like circular, hollow circular, rectangle, and INT sections. These are some common formulas, common sections for which we are going to calculate the bending stresses. Then bending stress distribution along the cross section. So bending stress distribution is a diagram. So we have to calculate the bending stress distribution, and we have to calculate the bending stresses, and along with that we have to draw the bending stress distribution diagram across the section. Okay. So these are the points that we'll be looking for, and after this, we'll go for the slope and deflection of the beam. So let us begin with the bending stress. This is not the stress, actually, this is a bending stress. Okay. So when beam is subjected to loading, when beam is subjected to loading, or by force, or a couple acting on a plane passing through the axis, then the beam deform. In simple terms, the axial deformation is called as the bending of the beam. Due to shear force and the bending moment, the beam undergoes deformation. This normal stress due to bending are called as the fractional stress. Means what? Means what? Say this is a beam. This is a beam. This is a overhang. This is a overhang. There are supports. There are loads. Even I'm going to apply more loads. Oh, like this. I'm going to apply load. Now, because of this loading, the beam is subjected to some kind of deformation. So deformation may like it deform like in such a U shape. Deforming like U shape. This is the loading diagram. Because of this load, the beam will turns to the U shape. So it is like look like this. Two supports, and if the load is applied, it will turn as a this U shape. Else, if it is a cantilever beam, I mount that cantilever beam in this section. So, and if I apply load, it will bend like this, inverted U shape. Simply supported beam will bend in U shape, whereas cantilever beam will bend in the inverted U shape. So what are the different effects of that loading over the bending on the different section? That is called to be strength. So this is the simply supported beam. You can see there's a bottom layer, there's a top layer, and there's a one neutral axis or neutral layer. There's a bottom layer, there's a top layer, there's a bottom layer, and there's one neutral axis. Okay. So these are the three layers. So what exactly that load affect and how does that load impact over the structural member of that particular beam that we are going to look for. Okay. Now I guess it is clear to everybody that this is the beam, this is a simply supported beam, and because of loading, it turns to U shape. There is a top layer, there is a bottom layer, and there is a NA neutral axis. There is a cantilever beam. It is straight. If it is loaded, it will turns and it will be behave like an inverted U shape. The point is, if you observe this beam, which behave or which turns its shape into the U shape, what happen over here? In that case, the upper layer is subjected to compression, whereas the bottom layer is subjected to tension. Layer, I'm talking about the layer. You can have a look of this. See, this is the beam. If it bent like this. This is a U shape, and there is a variation in the layer by layer. There are n number of layers, but we have selected top layer, bottom layer, and the center layer, and from that we are deriving something. Okay, the upper layer is subjected to compression, and the lower layer is subjected to tension. This is the condition for uh, simply supported beam, just like this. This is oh, like this. Upper layer is subjected to compression, lower layer is subjected to tension. Point is, whenever your beam is loading from one layer to the another layer, that is top layer is subjected to compression and bottom layer is subjected to tension, the intensity of compression is the intensity of compression is reduced from top layer to the neutral axis. The intensity of the compression is reduced from top layer to the neutral axis, whereas the neutral axis is the axis where there is no tension and no compression. I'm repeating, try to understand the terms. I'm expecting the reply from you, and whenever the simply supported beam is subjected to loading, it bent and its top layer is subjected to which type of the force, tension or compression. Upper layer is subjected to which type of the force system, tension or compression. It is subjected to compression, and bottom layer is subjected to the tension. And the intensity of the compression from top to the neutral axis is going to be reduced layer by layer, layer by layer, layer by layer. If there are n number of layers, it will reduce from top layer to the neutral axis. Similarly, the intensity of the tension is reduced from bottom layer to the neutral axis. The point is, at the extremum there is the maximum tension. At the extreme bottom layer there is a tension, maximum tension. At the extreme inner end there is a compression, and at the neutral axis there is a no force, or there is a no any kind of the movement will act, no any kind of the bending observed. In opposite to that of the simply supported beam, in opposite to that of the simply supported beam, the cantilever beam behave completely reversed. Its top layer is subjected to tension and bottom layer is subjected to compression. Its top layer is subjected to tension and the bottom layer is subjected to compression. And its intensity again reduced from extreme inner end till the neutral axis, and from the compression from it is from extreme bottom layer to the neutral axis, it is going to be reduced. The neutral axis is the axis where there is no any kind of the stresses field observed. Now the questions for you. If everybody is understood, you have to answer the questions. Okay. When simply supported beam is bent, which type of the force is observed in a top layer and which type of the forces act on the bottom layer? Am I audible to everybody? Sahil?
Top is compression,
Yes, at the top is it is a,
compression,
and at the bottom it is a.
tension.
In case of cantilever beam, it is.
Top is tension
Uh,
and bottom in compression.
what do you understand about neutral axis? What do you understand about the neutral axis? Sahil, Neeraj, Saurabh, Krishna, Sonu, Nutan, Pansare. What do you mean by neutral axis? Neutral axis is the axis, or it is a layer on which there is no compression and tension is observed. It is a completely neutral. Neutral axis is the axis where there is no any tension or compression or simply supported. Then next, that we are focusing while calculating the bending stresses. These stresses form in the material due to bending and can be calculated using the certain assumptions. And the assumptions are: number one, beam is initially set and has constant cross section area. Before loading, the beam should be straight and it should be uniform in the cross section area. Second, the beam is made up of the homogeneous material, means at any section the material is homogeneous. The geometry of the overall member is such that bending, not buckling, is the primary cause of failure. Means whenever the beam is subjected to loading, the bending is the cause of failure instead of buckling. Now, bending and buckling, these are the two different parameters. Try to understand. What is bending and what is buckling? Try to understand. Bending means if material is loaded, if beam is loaded, this is the beam and it is loaded. Now here it is bent. If there is a crack form over here and it will fail, in that case we can say the beam is failed due to the bending. All the beam will fail in the bending only. All beams are fail in the bending only. But if this beam is vertical, beam is in horizontal position, so beam is always fail in the buckling. Buckling. Beam is always fail in the bending. But when there is a column, that is a vertical structural member, and if it is loaded, the column will fail into two different type. Either it is in buckling or it is in crushing. So always remember, all the beams will fail in bending, not in buckling. All the columns will fail due to buckling or crushing. Okay. My question for you is very important point, oral point of view and exam point of view too. All beam will fail in which mode? All beams will fail in which mode? Buckling, crushing, or shearing, or torsion, or uh, bending. All beams will fail due to what? Parallel question for you is, how does column fail? Simple question. If you understood, then give me answer. If you don't, then ask me to repeat. Because the basic is very important. If you don't know the basic, so until and unless basic, we cannot go for the numerical. I'm repeating. The beam will fail due to what? Bending, crushing, shearing, torsion, or buckling or crushing. Divya. दिव्या आहे पानसरे आविष्कार ऋषिकेश नूतन निलेश लोणकर कृष्ण निकम कल्याणी ढोलक धनंजय भावेश राजपूत संत अंजलि संत सोनू शीतल then Gaurav bending. Okay. Sahil is saying the beam will fail. Nilesh Kuwar is saying beam will fail due to bending. My next question is, how does column can fail? Bending, shearing, crushing, buckling. How does column fail? How does column fail? Divya, are you there? You're listening to me or not? She's not there. She has just joined, I guess. Sahil, I'm repeating the question. These are very important. No? These are very important questions for oral point of view, for MCQ point of view. How does column will fail? Divya, how does column will fail? Network problem. No, because of not network problem. How does column will fail? How does column will fail? Not at all. Network problem is not the option. Buckling. Okay. Buckling and the crushing. My network problem. Okay, I got it. Sahil Dangi. Okay. Not only buckling, column will fail due to buckling and crushing. Okay. There are two different types of the column. One is a long column and second is a short column. The long column will fail due to buckling and short column is fail due to crushing. So the option is buckling and shearing. Now, coming back to point, plain cross section. The section remain plane before and after bending. So as the homogeneous material should be there, the area should be same throughout the section. ENA, that is neutral axis will not be affected due to bending. Because of the bending, neutral axis will not affect. Actually, because of the bending, once there is bending, neutral axis will never get affected. These are the few assumptions that that we have considered for the solving the numericals. Formulas. So this is the formula. This is called as the flexural formula. This is called as the bending formula. This is the formula. We have to prove this formula, but nobody will ask you in the examination. But definitely the question will ask in your MCQ and the oral point of view. What do you mean by bending formula, or what is bending formula and flexurous formula, and give the units of each and every terms and what does that term represents. So this is the flexural formula or bending formula. We'll be looking for the terminology of every terms. Okay. So flexural formula is m by I is equals to sigma by y is equals to E by R. The flexural formula is m by I is equals to sigma by y is equals to E by R. What is M? M is a bending moment. Can anybody tell me the unit of bending moment? Can anybody tell me the unit of bending moment? Can anybody tell me the unit of bending moment? What is the unit of moment? Keep aside bending moment. Only I'm expecting unit for moment. I'm expecting answer from Aher Abhijit. Aher Abhijit.
Yes, sir.
What is the unit of moment? If you don't know, then say no.
No,
Abhijit.
sir.
Okay. Then Shital Jagtap.
Yes, sir.
Moment. What is the unit of moment? It is very simple question. If you don't know, then say no.
No.
Tonu Samsare.
Yes, sir.
Unit of moment.
No, sir.
Anjali Sant. Unit of moment.
Yes,
Tell me the unit of moment. Yes or no?
no,
Dhananjay Khairnar. Divya Ahire. Gholab.
Newton
Kalyani.
meter.
Perfectly correct. The Golab, she has given the answer Newton meter. Newton, we have already calculated so many moments in the SFD and BMD calculations, and still you are confused. The unit of bending moment is Newton meter. Very good. Golab. Second, moment of inertia. You have calculated moment of inertia so many times in your first year. So can anybody tell me what is the unit of moment of inertia? Type in the chat box. Diplomats, you have already solved so many numericals. You have gone through the some complete subject. So it is very easy for you to give the answer for the units. Okay. What is the unit of moment of inertia? Or inertia, simply say inertia. I'm waiting for your answer in the chat box. Huh? I am waiting for the answer in the chat box. mm, Saurabh Devre, well tried. Is the unit for length, Saurabh. Kalyani, kg per meter square. Okay. Kg Newton per meter square. No, it is a unit for stress. Try first. I'm expecting the answer, sir. If you don't know, then I come to know what you have studied in your strength of material. Okay, don't allow me to judge your previous faculty. Yeah, I'm expecting the answers. First year also you have mechanics, and in that mechanics you have studied moment of inertia, parallel axis theorem, perpendicular axis theorem. You have calculated so many moments. I'm waiting for the answers. The simple question is, what is the unit of moment of inertia? Everybody, the question is common for everybody. Yeah? This is not Saurabh, they were saying meter raised to 4. Perfectly correct, Saurabh. The answer is meter raised to 4. Or you can say raised to 4. This is the unit for moment of inertia. This is bending stress. Again, the same question for you. What is the unit of bending stress? Go ahead and type answer in the chat box. What is the unit of bending stress? What is the unit of bending stress? I'm waiting for the answer, sir. What is the unit of bending stress? Nobody. Now there should not be any issue with the answer, huh? Because only stress we are studying from unit number 1. What is the unit of bending stress? Shall I take a name? I guess I have to take a name. Rushikesh Shahid. Answer Avishkar. Newton Khatri. Nilesh Kuwar. Lolkar. Ushna Nikam. गोलक तुम्ही सांगा. Simple question. What is the unit of bending stress? Saurabh Devre, answer is saying Newton meter. Saurabh Devre is saying Newton meter is the wrong answer. Newton meter is the unit for moment. KPA, Kalyani Chauhan, very good. Kalyani Chauhan is saying KPA. Sonu Samsare, SI unit are baba, SI unit sang, आपण ते बघू SI की CJ आहे. CJ Kalyani MPA, KPA, very good. Since last unit we have only studied na Pascal, kilopascal, megapascal, gigapascal, and I told you when there is a stress, the unit is same. That is Newton per meter square or Newton per mm square or Pascal or kilopascal, megapascal, gigapascal that we have studied in unit number 1 only. So you have to be very confident. So the unit is per mm, that is MPa. Okay, now why the distance of fiber at a distance of y? So here it is the distance, huh? Distance y from the central axis. So as it is the distance, it has a unit meter or mm. It is the distance. Tell me the unit of E. Tell me the unit of E. What is the unit of E? Modulus of elasticity. What is the unit of E? What is the unit of E? Fast, fast. I'm waiting for you answer in the chat box. Hurry and rush. Hurry and rush for the answers. Huh? Rajput, Newton per mm square. Very good, Bhavish. It is Nilesh, very good. Newton per mm square. Young's modulus. Okay. It is Newton per mm square. Its radius, so it is again mm. So try to understand. Formula is very simple. That is m by I is equal to symbol. Okay, Lonkar Tushar, very good Lonkar. The formula is very simple. That is m by I is equals to sigma by y is equals to v by r. M is a bending moment. M by I is equals to moment of inertia. Sigma is the bending stress. Y is the distance of any layer from the fiber. M by I, sigma by y is the modulus of velocity, and r is the radius of curvature. That is the formula. And you, at any condition, you have to remember this formula because that is very important. Along with you have to remember the unit. Okay. What are the unit? What are the different terms that we'll be looking for? Don't worry. Okay, bending. Okay. How does the beam will bend? This is the bending moment. This is the simply supported beam. Due to the central load, it will bend, and because of bending, upper layer is subjected to compression, lower layer is subjected to tension. So there is a one term Y. So try to understand what is Y. Huh? If this is the point O, the distance between O to top layer, this is the one layer. From O to neutral axis, this is one layer. O to bottom layer, this is one layer. This is second layer. This is third layer. This is the top layer. This is the bottom layer. This is the neutral layer. And in between top layer to bottom layer, there is a n number of layers are there. So why it is the distance of any layer from this O point. I'm again trying to tell you from point O to this point. As there is a top layer, as there is a bottom layer, as there is a neutral axis, there is some layer over here at this point. So we have focus or we have assigned a name Y. The Y, it is the distance of any layer from the cross sections of the beam, or it is the distance of any layer from the neutral axis. So we have to focus on that. This is the distance. Now if I wish to calculate the Y, so in between, where is this? The distance in between this point to this point, and that is nothing but Y. The distance between any two layers is called as a Y. The distance between a layer from neutral axis, from this point to this point, whatever the distance is there, that is called as a Y. The distance of any layer from the neutral axis is called as Y. Look at over here. This is the one layer, and that is a Y. We can call this layer at a distance of Y because that is any layer. But at a time, only one layer we have to focus. So distance between this layer and this layer is a Y. So if this is R, then R plus Y is the distance of CD to O. Are you getting my point? I am repeating. Y is very important for the numerical solution. Try to understand the term Y. Y actually, Y is the distance. Y, it is a distance. It is the distance in between any layer. It is the distance in between the neutral axis. Distance between the neutral axis to any layer is called as a Y. So this is one layer, and this is the Y. This is neutral axis. This is the Y. So neutral axis and this layer, the distance in between both is called as a Y. This is a figure that is required for the derivation. Let us have a look. I will conduct derivation later on. Right now we don't need anything. We need only the formulas. Okay. So this is one section. This is a beam having AC at top layer, BD at the bottom layer, and NN, that is the neutral axis. Okay. So I just told you the distance between the neutral axis and any layer is called as Y. So this is any layer, EF. It's any layer. It can be here. It can be here. It can be here. It is in between, anywhere in between the AB or CD. When it is subjected to bending, it will bend like this. So AC become A dash C dash, and BD become B dash D dash. If you measure this distance, so AC is greater than A dash C dash because AC is subjected to compression. AC is, if you measure this distance AC is greater than A dash C dash because A dash C dash is subjected to compression. whereas B and D is subjected to tension. If you measure BD and B dash D dash, in that case BD will be higher than that of the BD. B dash D dash is greater than BD. Okay. Now this is the diagram. This is the stress distribution diagram that we have to draw. This center line we have to pass in between this A and D, which represent the neutral axis. We have to draw one vertical line which is equal to the length of string, and this is the imaginary distance. On the right hand side it is taken as a compression, and on the left hand side it is taken as a tension. So we have to put imaginary, we have to take imaginary length and we have to connect this point. So this is the shear stress distribution diagram that we'll be looking for when there is a numerical. Na? It is very clear for you. But right now what is important for you is what is the flexural formula, that is M by I is equals to sigma by Y is equals to V by R. Top layer is subjected, in case of simply supported beam, top layer is subjected to compression, bottom layer is subjected to tension. In case of cantilever beam, top layer is subjected to tension, bottom layer is subjected to compression, and neutral axis is not affected by any force, and y is the distance in between the any layer of the beam from the neutral axis, and this is a shear stress distribution diagram. Centroid. What is a centroid? Centroid first year or form for the diploma students. The CG is the center of gravity of the plane lamina is called a centroid. The point at which the mass of the body is supposed to be concentrated, that is the point at which it is called as a centroid. So the centroid lies on the axis of the symmetry, or if there exists an axis of symmetry and it is given by. If I wish to calculate the centroid, how to calculate the centroid? We have to measure the distance. How to measure the distance? Say this is the one T section. And if I wish to identify the centroid of that, only vertical centroid. So distance in between top flange. If I cut this section vertically, and if that section form a mirror image of the one another, if I cut that section from the center, in that case, if that image form a mirror image, in that case we can say this is the symmetrical about y-axis. Say for example, I cut this from here. If I cut and both the sides of the plane will mirror image of one another, in that case I can say mirror image means both are symmetric. Left hand section and right hand section both are same. In that case I can say the symmetry is, the image is symmetric about y-axis. So this is C is a centroid of that section. If both section I have to look for, in that case I will cut at the center of web and flange. So this is my flange, I will cut at the center. From this web I will cut it from the center. If I fold this from the along x-axis and y-axis, if they both are mirror image of the one another, in that case I can say the symmetry is, the geometry is symmetric about x and y-axis both. Because if I cut along this axis, it will mirror image of the both. If I cut along this, it will mirror image of the both. So we can say that the image is geometry is symmetric about x and y-axis. There are few sections and we are looking for their centroid. So if there is a square, its centroid lies at the distance of half. So x bar lies at the distance of b by 2 and y bar lies at the distance of b by 2. So at the square section, when there is a square section, its centroid lies at the distance of center, that is b by 2 and b by 2. If there is a rectangle, so it is a b by 2 is a, there is a y-axis, and d by 2 there is a x-axis. So look at over here, try to understand this image. This is a D, this is a B. If I cut B, I will have x bar. If I cut D, I will have y bar. So when I'm cutting along x-axis, I will have x bar. When I'm cutting along y-axis, I will be having y bar. Okay. Triangular section, x bar, b by 3 and h by 3. So this is a centroid. When I'm talking about like UDL, na, in that case, I told you that CG lies at a distance of half. That is a square section. In case of UBL, I told you that is 2h by 3 and L by 3. That is 2L by 3 and L by 3. In that case, that is a triangle. Similarly, this is a triangle, and in that case, that is a centroid. B by 3 and H by 3. That is 2L by 3 and L by 3. Then square. So center is always half of the radius. So half of the diameter. So it is D by 2. It is semicircle. So it is D by 2 as it is the diameter. If I cut the diameter at the center, there will be a D by 2. And in case of Y, 4R by 3 pi will be the. We don't need all those geometry. We need some basic for foundations. But for the information and for the revision point of view, we require these things. Okay. Then for the quadrant, it is 4R by 3 pi and 4R by 3 pi. So section is same, 4R by 3 pi and 4R by 3 pi. Then the principle of superposition, principle of moment of area or moment of inertia. So this is called as the first moment of inertia. This is also called as second moment of inertia. And it is nothing but what? A y bar is equals to A1 y1 plus A2 y2. This is the first moment of area. So what is A1 y1? See, this is the sections. This is, say, for example, that is a section. And the distance between that section is x1, second point x2, section x3. So every point we have the two coordinate x bar y1, x bar y bar. Na? So this is x1, and for that it is y1. For x2, this is y2. This is x2, this is y2. For x3, this is y3. So for every point we have two coordinates x1, y1, x2, y2. So in case of that, if I wish like to area, in that case, how to calculate? So it is nothing but A1 y1 or A y bar is equals to A1 y1 plus A2 y2 and so on, done based on the number of points. And for x bar it is A1 x1 plus A2 x2 and so on. This formula we don't require. We require second moment of inertia. So this is the first moment of inertia, A1 y1. If I wish to take second moment of inertia, then it is A1 into y1 into y1. So it is A1 y1 square, A2 y2 square. We have to multiply to each and every. This is the first moment of inertia, moment of area. It is the area and it is the distance. The product of both is moment. It is the area and this is the distance. A product area and distance. So this is the first moment. If I wish to calculate second moment, in that case I will be multiplying this with the one more distance. So it is first moment of area A1 y1 plus A2 y2 plus A3 y3 and so on. Similarly for AX bar, that is A1 x1 plus A2 x2 plus A3 x3 and so on. For second moment of inertia, the equation will be like A1 y1 into y1. So it is second moment of inertia A1 y1 square plus A2 y2 square plus A3 y3 square and so on. Similarly for wax, that is A1 x1 square plus A2 x2 square and so on. This is second moment of inertia. Parallel axis theorem. So this is only the division for everybody. Yeah? We require only the formula. So parallel axis theorem is saying that if there is a terminology, there is a one body is there. It is having a CGC and it is having a height h from a fixed axis. In that case, how to calculate the moment of inertia of that particular body with reference to the AB, or how to calculate the moment of inertia of AB with reference to that body? In that case, the formula will be moment of inertia of AB is equals to AG. AG stands for moment of inertia of that complete body plus A h square. H is the height and A is the area of that complete body. Moment of inertia of that complete body is equals to AB plus AG plus AH square. Moment of inertia of AB is equals to AG plus AH square, where AG is the moment of inertia of that complete body plus area plus the product of area and the distance in between both the axes. That is a parallel axis theorem. What is the perpendicular axis theorem? When there is a perpendicular axis theorem, the area moment of the inertia or lamina with respect to the axis perpendicular to its cross section is equal to the sum of the area of the moment of inertia given the lamina with respect to the centroidal axis. That is simple. When I wish to calculate the moment of inertia of any section, in that case, I can have a moment of inertia of third axis in such a way that it should be the summation of Ixx plus Iyy. That is moment of inertia of any section about xx section plus moment of inertia of any section around yy section is equals to moment of inertia of that body in the zz section. That is the parallel axis. That is the perpendicular axis theorem. This is called the perpendicular axis theorem. Okay. For today, I'm going to stop over here. In the next lecture, actually, we are beginning for today's lecture is only the prerequisite of the this unit. That is, what are the basic fundamental that you have studied already in the SOM or in the mechanics first year. That is the only revision. But for actual this unit, I will be starting all those things in the next class. So if anybody is having any doubt, Kiri, you may can ask me. Else, those who have given the attendance, they may can leave the session. No issue.